the one thing that brought me comfort was worshiping the Lord. It was like, I always tell people it was like my medicine, um, or, whatever to help me cope with the loss was worshiping. I would sit down at the piano, and within a couple of minutes of singing, it was like this weight was just lifted off my shoulders. And worship was the way that I connected instantly with the Lord and the way that he was healing my heart.
Well, we have Ann Wilson with us this morning, the big, huge song, My Jesus, which, Ann, I don't know if you were prepared for this. I mean, gosh, debuted at #1 on the Billboard. This is the first female artist. You're the first person to ever do this for Christian music.
It's so crazy. I'm so honored that God chose me to be in this position. And every time I hear that record, it's just crazy that the Lord chose me for this.
Well, you really said that in a nice Christian way. God chose me instead of, it's all because of my awesome song.
And it is an awesome song.
It is. No, you're right.
I love it.
I love it too. I think it's so different and unique sounding. I think that's what made it so special,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think the song was definitely, God had set it apart from the beginning when we even just first started writing the song. And I definitely think that it has a message that has not been really shared with the world yet.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why don't we talk about, go ahead, Sally.
Oh, I was going to say, I hear maybe some influences in your singing that maybe has made a difference in what we're hearing, because your song really is very, very unique. Not only the lyrics, but your delivery. Who's influenced you musically?
I love Dolly Parton and Johnny Cash. They've been two very big influences in my production style, but also just my voice. And then just, I love the way they write their songs. And I really love Zach Williams, Crowder. Man, there have been there's a lot of Christian influences, but in terms of that country Southern sound, it's definitely Dolly Parton and Johnny Cash.
I love country music.
I do too. It's my favorite. Yeah. It's so good.
Amen.
It's like musical potluck.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Who doesn't want to go to that?
Musical potluck.
I love that.
That was great, Misty.
Thank you. Awesome. I'm going to trademark that.
So here's little Ann Wilson and bring a covered dish.
Yes, there you go.
Yes, I love that so much.
That's awesome. Did you, did you grow up in that type of church culture? A lot of get-togethers and stuff?
I did. I grew up in a Presbyterian church. I was at Baptist church until I was about 4 or 5 years old. But then once I actually remember being in church, it was that church. And we had a lot of family gatherings and stuff like that. And my dad and both of my mom and my dad, they're from really small towns. So every, holiday, Easter, Christmas, whatever, it's always getting together with the church and doing a big get together. So
I love that. So you've been singing for a while. Like, how did you get into music?
I actually started singing when my older brother Jacob passed away in 2017. He passed away in a car accident at the age of 23, and it was very hard to have to walk through that. But when he passed away, the Lord just placed this desire in my heart to worship him, and it had never been there before. And I was a Christian, but I never really worshiped him in the setting of singing in front of people or anything like that. So I actually sang at my brother's funeral for the first time in front of anyone. I'd never sang before. That was in 2017. So I've been singing for almost 5 years now. And that's really, that moment was when God called me to music. And ever since then, God has just opened doors and brought me to where I am today.
I love that. Do you think maybe this sudden desire to worship was his way of helping you cope and find comfort in that moment?
Absolutely. The one thing that brought me comfort was worshiping the Lord. It was like, I always tell people it was like my medicine, or, whatever to help me cope with the loss was worshiping. I would sit down at the piano, and within a couple of minutes of singing, it was like this weight was just lifted off my shoulders. And worship was the way that I connected instantly with the Lord and the way that he was healing my heart.
What was that? How old were you when that went down?
I was 15.
What was that like at 15-year-olds to have, I can't fathom to have your own brother pass away.
it was very surreal because, you know, when you grow up, at least for me, like my biggest fear was losing my parents. Like me and my siblings would always think about what if one of our parents dies? And that's a
Yeah.
very common fear, I feel like, for a kid. And that was my biggest fear. And then my brother died, and it was like, wait, this is not the natural order of life. And so it felt very odd and different that, you know, that Jacob passed away at such a young age. And it was very traumatic, and it cut a lot of the childhood out, like that didn't really get
Mm.
to exist, you know. I basically grew up immediately after he passed away, and I had to just become who God was making me to be, and I had to be strong for my family. And so I think there was a lot of life that gets missed out, but there was also a lot that God taught me through it. And I'm very grateful looking back that I chose to follow Jesus and get closer to him through it instead of turning the other way and, you know, having anger towards the Lord. So it was a very traumatic experience, and there's a lot of heartbreak still there almost 5 years later. Um, but I see God through all of it, and he's brought so much beauty out of it already.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, it's something like that, a tragedy. You either run to God or you run from him,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you kind of have an interesting way of how you got discovered, and it looks like that wasn't all you're doing.
Definitely not. I posted a YouTube video of What a Beautiful Name, the song I sang at my brother's funeral. And within about like 2 months, it went viral. And my manager found me through that video and reached out and said, hey, we want to meet you, and we want to, you know, get to know you and your story. And it's history from there. And it was all God. And it's just crazy that, you know, he passed away in June. In September was when the video came out. And then by the next year, I was already in the Nashville scene and about to sign a record deal. And God moved very quickly in this process. And it was like, God was just like, here you go, Anne. Here's the next step. Here's what you have to do. And it's so cool looking back on that. But God was definitely the one that made all of this happen.
Wow.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Um, uh,
Mm,
you know, it seems that you've had a lot of great people around you, your
mm.
family, your friends, your music now. Have you collaborated with some other people in your music already?
I have. I collaborated with Crowder on My Jesus. He sang the first
Oh,
verse of that and did harmonies. And then I have a song coming out in April on my record called Mamas, and Hillary Scott from Lady A featured on
Oh,
that
wow.
song. And I'm
Oh,
very excited about it.
That's cool. I like that.
that must be fun.
Yeah. It's gonna be awesome.
Mhm,
So your album just released,
mhm.
and we got that new song, Sunday Sermons, on there. Talk about that. What's that all
Mhm.
about?
I love that song. I wrote it out of the place of just growing up in church, and I didn't know God. I would not have called myself a Christian. But I grew up in church, and I was there every Sunday, and, you know, every time we had youth
Mm.
group. And I didn't know God until seventh grade, and I experienced his presence for the first time. And I really realized, okay, it's not about religion, it's about relationship. And I gave my life to Jesus, and I had a relationship with the Lord. And but I remember just as I was writing and looking back, and, you know, I always write down song titles, and I was looking at a song title called Sunday Sermons. And I wanted to write a song that spoke to a lot of the people who grow up in church but don't know God. And then they realized that God used all of those sermons and church services and Sundays to really bring them to the Lord. And I remember, like, a year and a half after I accepted Jesus, I remember looking back and realizing that God had planted seeds in my heart all along. He had been planting them throughout my whole childhood, but I didn't know him until that seventh grade moment when I was 12
Mhm.
years old. But that God didn't waste any of those Sunday sermons, and the scripture that I have memorized from growing up in church, and the knowledge of the Bible, and all of that came from growing up in church and my parents instilling that in me, even though I didn't know at the time that God was planting those seeds. And I love the line, devil gonna try and take me out of that church, but you can't take the church out of me. And I feel like the enemy tries to pull you out of the church so much, and tries to pull you out and just get you so distracted with so many other things going on. But I just love that he can't take that out of us, and that when that's our foundation, that we're gonna stick with that and stay with that.
Mm, that's awesome. You know, it's funny you think about growing up in church, all the memories that you have
Mhm.
and the things
Mm,
that you learned. And I've always tried to tell people that are involved in children's ministry, you're not just babysitting, you know.
mm,
These little
absolutely.
kids, they're sponges. They're soaking up
Yeah.
everything that you're teaching them. and down the road, it's going to come back up when they needed it, you know?
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's so true and so important.
Yeah.
Love that. Hey, something awesome happened with you and your music career recently. You made it to the Grand Old Opry. Talk to me about that.
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
Oh, it was so exciting. You're out to debut at the Grand Ole Opry on September 4th in 2021, and it was so surreal. I just remember, I'll never forget that day. That was honestly one of the most special days of my life. But being able to share the
Mm.
gospel in that environment was an honor.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people probably do not know God that came to the show that night, and they're looking for country music, but they got Jesus, and that was really powerful. And so, and it was just amazing getting to share my story and my songs with people. So it's a real experience that I will never forget. And I just finished performing at the Opry on April 16th, and that was amazing. So second time there, got to go back.
That's cool.
So much fun.
Wow.
So
I like how
amazing.
you said that, they got, thought we were getting country, got some Jesus. And of course, it reminds me of that joke, we play positive country. We play songs backwards. So you got your house back, you got your car back.
You go and you get your faith back.
That's right.
Amazing.
Exactly. Now you're back in church.
Yoo-hoo! So I have to tell you, you and I share a weakness together,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit of an addiction.
Oh,
So we get to work super early. Nothing is open along the way, but not even a mile down the road. Do you know what I pass every morning? And most mornings I cater. It's a Dunkin' Donuts, and they're open.
I knew it. I knew it. I love it.
And iced coffee. You do what? The vanilla? I always do the caramel latte. You do the vanilla? What is it
Vanilla
about Dunkin'?
with almond milk? It's addicting. I can't even explain. Like, it's my favorite thing in the world. I love Dunkin' coffee. It's so good.
I love
you
what
drinking
you said about it.
Starbucks? Are you drinking Starbucks?
No, I guarantee you she is not drinking Starbucks.
I thought you were. I thought
Me?
Oh,
yes.
Oh no, I've just got water.
I thought it was a Starbucks cup, and I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that.
all coffees are represented here.
that's right.
Oh, that's so
Well,
funny,
at the end of this interview, we'll pray for everybody involved with this.
Yes.
and our addictions. Oh no.
Oh, goodness.
That's awesome. Well, I got to
Oh, that's
know, what is God teaching you lately?
Mm.
Oh, he's been teaching me the importance of just being present in each moment, and being just very focused on every moment of every day. And I'm a big planner and a big, like, let me look at my future and let me try to piece things together. And but I think he's just been really teaching me the value of being present and trusting his plans and not trying to control the outcomes of my future, but just constantly having my hands in surrender to him and letting him guide and lead me in life.
That's hard to do. I mean, let's face it, we all want control.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you do. And you're right. And well, hey, I don't know. I think God's plan is best, because what happened to you, obviously you couldn't really plan this,
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's amazing.
When you think about this new album that has just launched, tell me what comes to mind. What is it that God has done in and through you?
Yeah, this record is just so special to me, and these songs have been really important pieces of my life over the past 2 years. And so when I think of this record, I just think of God's faithfulness and God's kindness to bring me through some of the hardest things I've ever had to go through in life. And I get so excited when I think about the record, because I just see the Lord using these songs in big ways, and I think I see the potential of these songs to be used in massive ways to reach a lot of people for His kingdom and His glory. And so I'm just very excited to see where God continues to take this record and the doors that He's going to open through it. And it's just a really special part of my artistry. And I've worked really hard, written over 130 songs for the record. And so this, yeah, I know, a lot of songs.
Good golly.
Oh my goodness.
Crazy. So each of these songs are really important to me, and they hold a lot of special meaning for me.
130 songs. I've been listening to Anne's album for 3 years now. And
We're halfway through.
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of My Jesus, talk about that song and the meaning behind it for you.
Yeah, I love that song, and man, it's been so cool to see what God has done through that song, and just it's been amazing. But I wrote that song out of the place of losing my brother, and really just walking through what that looked like to lose a loved one, and walking through grief and loss in that way. And it was a really hard season of losing Jacob, and just a lot of trauma and heartbreak. And I remember writing in my journals every day after he died, that I would write at the end of each, page entry that God got me through another day. And I needed to know, and I wanted to prove to myself that God would pull me through the tragedy. And I was looking back into my journals, and I realized that I had never written any other name referring to God as my Jesus, or other than my Jesus. So I'd never written Lord, Jesus, God, any other name. It was always like, thank you, my Jesus, for another day, or, I love you, my Jesus, or whatever. And so I brought that title into the writing room. I was writing with Matthew West and one of our other good friends, and we just started throwing around all these concepts. And I said, hey, I have this idea of writing a song about my Jesus. And Matthew West had the same idea and the same title that day. He brought in the same title, and it was just one of those moments
crazy.
where we, right? I know it was
Yeah.
crazy, and we knew that it was a special song, and we wanted. I think it really just captures the heart of having a personal relationship with the Lord, and that being your foundation of everything. And then me kind of inviting the world, like, hey, let me tell you about my Jesus, and like my Jesus can change your life too. So it's a really, really meaningful song, and I just love the heart behind it. And I'm so grateful for how the Lord has used this song it's just insane how he's impacted so many lives with it.
That's good. That's awesome. So before we let you go, we like to ask this question. What is bringing you joy right now?
Oh, I love that. Honestly, I have a new puppy. His name is Hank Williams Jr.
Oh,
And
no
I love him
cute.
so much. I got him for Christmas, and he's a Boykin Spaniel. He's about, I guess, 5 months old now, and I love him so much. He's like my precious little, like, oh my gosh, I just can't. But he is just my like joy and light and everything. So I just love him so much, and he has been bringing me so much joy.
Oh,
Wow. Is he bringing all his rowdy friends over tonight? See, I was in country radio for a very long time, and so it's built into my DNA.
I love that. That's amazing.
That's awesome. Wow. I love it. Hank Williams Jr.
That is adorable.
It is.
How cute.
Yes.
So funny.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Hey, get over here.
So if that puppy's in trouble, the full name comes out.
Yes, definitely. For sure.
It's adorable. Love that.
Aw.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for
This is
having
fun.
me.
You're
Absolutely.
welcome.
It was so good to talk to you guys.
Hey, can you
Great to
quickly,
talk to
we want to see the tour bus real quick, just for
Oh.
those that are
Oh
watching
yeah,
the video.
I've got this little area back here. It's a lot of bags. and
That is a
storage
lot of
things, so-
bags and stuff.
Yes. It's pretty
Cool,
crazy.
exciting. Well, thank you for your time, Ann. We really appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for having me. Good to talk to y'all today.
Good to talk to you.
God bless you.
Say hi to
Awesome.
Hank for
God
us.
bless you.
Yes.
I will.
Thank God.
Bye, y'all.
All right.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
guys.
See ya.